My name is Linda Kamara and you're on Crime Stories with Linda. So today let's talk about the Greyhound Bus Murder that happened in Canada in 2008. So this case, he had a lot of, it sparked a lot of outrage in Canadians then, as at that 2000 being the way the case later turned out and the perpetrator, how everything ended. It was just so bad for everyone involved. So let's just talk about it. So this case happened on 30th of July 2008. But first, before we go into what happened on that particular day, let's just talk about the people involved. So Vince Lee is a Chinese Canadian, but he was born in China. So growing up, as he was given birth to on 30th of April 1968, he was given birth as premature baby. So he was not. He was, according to them, he had a very sickly childhood. So growing up was really very tough for him. He started school at 9 years old. He started working around 5 years old. So it took him a lot of time to do a lot of things because of this thing. But he later overcame it for during his high school days. So during his high school days, he started performing very well, and at the end of the day, he went on to school to study computer science, engineering, or something related to computer programming, stuff like that. So when he graduated, he started working as a computer programmer in one company in Beijing, China, and working there, he met his wife in 1995, Anna. So both of them got married, that's in 1995, and they were having a very lovely family. According to the wife said that Vince never had any mental illness issue. His dad said he never had any mental illness problem. He was just a normal person, working and living his family life. But then in 2001, he moved with his wife to Canada. So when they got to Canada, Vince had this language barrier to get jobs, jobs that he really wanted. It was really hard for him because he could not speak English very well. So he was just working menial jobs. He worked at Walmart. He worked at Boston. He worked different jobs, different menial jobs that was not really up to what he was doing when he was in China. So he was still like providing for his family, doing all that. His bosses said that the bosses that they interviewed for this case said that he had never really had any issue with anybody. He was just a normal person, like being where, as in coming to work, doing what he's supposed to do and doing it well. So later, when he worked with a church, then he later converted to Christianity and became baptized. After converting to Christianity, according to him, he started hearing the voice of God. The voice usually tell him of an impending alien invasion, that aliens will invade this world and they will kill a lot of people and destroy things, that he should save the world from this alien invasion. So according to him, he was just having this, I don't know whether it's psychotic attacks. He was just thinking of all those things. He said he hears voices. So his wife will be confused. What's happening to him? Keep asking him what's happening. But as at 2006, he he became a full Canadian citizen, got his permanent residence and stuff. So he continued working, but he still complained of hearing that voices. And if they want to take him to hospital, he said he's afraid of hospitals, that he doesn't want to go to any hospital. So this was really undiagnosed. He doesn't want to go to hospital. His friends will cajole him, let's go to hospital, try to make him to agree to going to hospital, but he will say no, that he doesn't want to go. So he was just like talking to himself, hearing these voices and stuff. He just kept living like that. His wife said that sometimes he would leave the house because, according to him, when he was later interviewed by police, he said that the voice would tell him to like walk around the Canadian lands, walk around to the towns, and just he would just be taking buses from one place to another, and the voice would tell him to come back. The voice would tell him to trek. So he was just doing all manner of things that is supposed to, like, one would know that he is having psychotic breaks, but he was not really committed to any mental hospital. People just left him, and he was just saying all those things, and he was just behaving like that. So the wife, most times he would just leave the house and he will not come back for days. Sometimes he will not eat, in the night he will not sleep. He was just having those kind of things, he was doing those things. So, and nobody was really paying attention to him. Then before this thing happened, the thing that happened in this case happened. He just woke up one day and told his wife that because he and his wife, after, as in during all these his issues, he and his wife divorced, but and he left the house. He left the house and went on to live in another place, but later he later moved back to continue staying with the wife. So the wife accepted him, and continue staying together, though they are already divorced. So he's his ex-wife. So he just woke up one day and said that he's traveling to China, that he wants to go and he didn't even tell the wife anything. He didn't tell the wife what he wants to go and do in China, just that he's traveling to China. So when he got to China, he was just behaving, he wasn't behaving the normal way his parents knew him to behave. He was just behaving somehow. So when he got there, he just, like, told his dad that he's looking for a wife. Then by the evening, he told them that he's going back to Canada. How can you travel to Canada, from Canada to China, that same day you're saying that you're going back? So he booked a flight and also left China that same day and got back to Canada the next day. So the wife was just saying, they were just seeing this type of behavior from him, but nobody really did anything. So as he was just behaving that way, 4 days before this attack happened, on the 26th of the 24th of July 2008, when he went to work, and he had a quarrel, he had a fight with his co-worker, and after that fight, the manager told him to fired him, in fact, from the work. So he was just, he didn't care, he doesn't care, because his mind was not really, his mind was not there, so he didn't care, he just left there. So he now boarded on 28th of July of that same year. He boarded a bus 1170 going to Manitoba. So on his way to Manitoba, when he got to a particular place, the Erickson, Manitoba, but not really, has not gotten to the town that he wants to go to. He just alighted and came down from that bus and just sat close to a grocery store. There he was just sitting on the bench there in front of that grocery store. He was just sitting there, and with his 3 luggages, he was just sitting there and looking around, and nobody really said anything. Nobody told him anything. A witness that said she saw him around 3 a.m. sitting on that same spot. He was just sitting like this, both upright, sitting and looking like this, and nobody called the police. That's the problem I have with these cases. The time that people should call the police, they never really get to calling the police. Is after something has happened that people will just come out and, like, to bear witness to what happened. So nobody called the police, nobody did anything. We were just sitting there, both upright, from that 3 a.m. that the woman saw him to around 7 a.m. in the morning. And when a 15-year-old teenager was passing around, he had already, like, shared some of his luggages, brought out things from his luggage, and, like, kept them that he wants to sell them. So he has sold them, some he has dashed out, some he has burnt. So he placed his laptop, a new laptop, and he placed his laptop that he's selling the laptop for $600 Canadian dollars. But a teenager just came around, like, playing with him and asked him how much is the laptop. He said $600. So the teenager just asked him, will you sell $60? That's what I have. They just said, bring the money, bring the money, take the laptop. Naija was shocked because this laptop is a new laptop, and as at that time, a laptop is supposed to be more than $600 sef. So the teenager just paid him the money and took the laptop. Though the police later collected that laptop from that teenager as evidence. So, but Vince was just there, and when this, he was just there, and on 29th of July, Tim McLean, the victim of this case, he was 3rd October 1985. As at the time of this case, he was just 22 years old. He works at Carnival, so he was just going home to see his parents before he even before he left. People were trying to like telling him that he should pay for his flight fare because it's far. He's supposed to take a flight, but he said he wanted to like have an adventure by traveling through the lands and using a bus to travel to be more fun for him. So he was just in that bus. He boarded that bus 11:70 from that Edmonton bus station to traveling to Manitoba. So when they got to Erickson, Vince boarded the bus. So he had already sold most of his luggages, so just he came into the bus. He just sat down one place. He just sat down and was looking around. So but Tim was sitting at the back of the bus, close to the toilet, like he sit away from the toilet. He was sitting there pressing his phone, chatting with his friends and listening to music. So at the time, when as the bus was going, I think the bus like parked in a particular place and asked them to, and they had to like come down and ease themselves. Some had to like stretch their legs. So when they came back to the bus, Vince left where he's supposed to sit and came. Tim was sitting at the back of the bus and sat with him. So when he sat there, he was just Vince also was sitting. They didn't really acknowledge each other. They just sat. Vince sat doing what he was doing, pressing his phone and listening to his music. Then Vince was just looking at him, and before you knew it, after like some minutes, Vince just brought out a buck knife. This buck knife, Vince had been carrying it for a long time. During that time that he said that God told him that he should prepare for an alien invasion, that aliens are going to come into the world, invade the earth and kill off a lot of people. So he was just carrying everywhere he goes, he carries that buck knife. So when he brought out that buck knife, large knife, and just stabbed Tim on the neck, and Tim let out a very loud scream, a blood curdling scream that a lot of people were shocked. So now people on the bus looked back, they saw that someone was busily stabbing the person seated next to him. That's Vince was stabbing Tim. He was just stabbing him repeatedly over and over again. It's as if his eye was just he was not really he was just concentrated on what he was doing, and was just doing what he was doing. So a lot of people were screaming. They ran away from the bus. People came down, even the driver. They came down from the bus and they closed the bus so that he will not be able to come down from the bus and chase. So that Vince will not come down from the bus and start chasing them. But Tim that Vince was stabbing was trying to like shield himself from the stabs. He was trying to fight him off, but he could not fight him off because he had already stabbed him repeatedly. So, and people were still shouting when they came down from the bus, but this Vince guy continued stabbing and stabbing Tim. He stabbed him repeatedly, and people were calling police. People were screaming. Police came there around 8:30. Police circled the bus. They were trying to negotiate with Tim to come down from the bus, but Tim didn't even listen to anybody. He was just doing what he was doing. At the end of the day, this was even just the beginning of what he planned to do. because after stabbing Tim repeatedly, he just like decapitated his head and like took his head and held it up so that people will see, and a lot of people were so devastated. People were screaming, people were shouting, and the police, they were there. They didn't do much. They were they didn't do much because I don't know why, because nobody was inside the bus. The driver had already rendered the bus inoperable because he doesn't want Vince to like drive off with Tim inside their bus like that. So he had already rendered the bus inoperable, so the bus cannot drive anymore. So they should have like entered there and tried to like see, even if, since Tim is already dead, even if he's not saving his life anymore, just save his body from this type of mutilation and decapitation that Vince was busily doing to his body. Vince cut off his head, cut off his tongue, cut off a lot of different parts of his body. He was just showing each one he cut, he just raised it up and showed them. At the time, he cut off his heart and ate it in front of the passengers. People were just screaming. It was just like horror movie. People were screaming and police were there trying to negotiate with him, but he was not listening to anybody. He was not, the voice in his head telling him to do things, that was what he was just listening to. So they were there waiting for him until around 1:30, after he must have done different types of things to his body. He just broke one of the windows. He broke one of the windows and tried to escape from there. So the police threw a shotgun, and he fell down and they captured him. So they captured him and they arrested him. So when they found the bus, they saw that the place was just so horrible. Blood was everywhere. Different parts of the body were just scattered inside that bus. So they were just looking for pieces of him. They found different parts of the body. Some part of the heart were missing. His nose, his tongue was missing. His eyes were missing. His ears. So they found his ears, I think, and his eyes in Vince's pocket, but it seemed he had consumed some part of his heart, and I think he ate some part of his nose or his eyes. I don't know. So he did a lot to this particular body, and he was taken into custody. Then the other passengers that were looking on, most of them were all taken to the police station first to ask them questions about what happened. And at the end of the day, after they like described what they saw, and they were taken to a hotel to sleep over. So, but Vince was kept in police custody, and he was just there. Then Tim's mom saw the news on television about someone being killed on a Greyhound bus close to Manitoba, but he couldn't. She didn't believe that is her son. She was just saying, praying for the family of whoever this thing happened to, and just praying that they're able to, that God should give them the fortitude to bear what has happened, until she and her husband were called and told that it was actually Tim, their son, that was the victim of this case, and they were so devastated. They were broken-hearted, and they cried so much. And Vince was still under police custody. Then the trial for this case started in March of 2009, but it was not the way people thought it was going to go. They said that Vince is not responsible for killing Tim because he was not with his mind was not, he was having a mental health episode when this thing happened, that he was having psychosis, that he can't, since his mind was not with his full mind, that he cannot be held responsible according to the law of Canada. That if someone does something like that and the person is not like fully does not have his mental faculties intact, the person will not be held criminally responsible for that crime. So Vince was not held responsible for the crime, but he was placed into a mental health facility, and he was held there from that 2008 2009 till 2015. He was being treated, and but this thing was really very devastating to Tim's family, because Tim's family were expecting a harsher punishment for someone that did something this big, someone that did something this horrible, that the person should have a harsher punishment. Even the Canadians, almost everybody was really against this, against the way the case was handled, because they were treating Vince as he's not criminally responsible, so he was not held accountable for anything. He was just placed in a mental health facility for him to be treated. So in 2000, around 2015, that's like 7 years after this case, after this murder, Vince was usually released to go into town. He was granted trips to go into town and get things. He was just he's usually allowed to go and come back to the mental health facility. And around 2017, he was now fully discharged of this case. He was discharged. He before around that 2016 2015, he usually comes back to get checkups and get drugs and check whether he's how his mental health is doing, because he was diagnosed of so he schizophrenia. So he was not, after 2017, when he was fully discharged, he was not really mandated to come in and check for anything, to check whether he's taking his medication or anything. He was just fully discharged to go into the world and continue living his life. So he, as of now, he's living in Manitoba. He's living his life. He has changed his name to Will Baker. So he's continuing his life. He's not reliable to anything related to this case anymore. He has been discharged, and according to what the research place what I read online, they said that he's continuing with his medications, and he has not reoffended till now. So he has been released to society. So this thing it sparked a lot of debate with mental illness and pure evil. Should people be held responsible for their crimes, or even if they have mental illness or not? But a lot of people have schizophrenia, and they don't go ahead to kill people. So I don't know what happened in Vince's case, why he did what he did. I don't know what really happened, but this case keeps making people ask a lot of questions. Even Tim's mom and his family we are fighting that they should create a law that even if you have mental illness, that you should be held criminally responsible for any crime you commit. But the law did not pass. They were trying to create a Tim's law and put it into legislation, but it didn't work. The law was not created. So his parents keep talking about the case. They keep trying to shed light on this mental health and criminality, and people are still talking about it in Canada. But just let's hope that at the end of the day, more as in they will be able to look into that law and put more punishment to this kind of serious crimes. So thank you very much for watching to this time, and please subscribe, like and share and comment. It's going to help my channel to grow. And if you like true crime stories, this place is where you need to be. I upload every Sunday. Just come in on Sunday evening, Sunday afternoon. You'll be able to see a new case to watch. Thank you very much for watching, and with that being said, good night.